He parked the car at the end of the long driveway, silent as if the night itself were holding its breath. The clock on his phone read 2:17 a.m. He had missed 3 flights, and negotiations that stretched into the small hours had left him hollowed out and wired at once. He told himself he would be as quiet as possible. The house they had bought together years ago felt strangely unfamiliar in the dark, its familiar angles turned alien by moonlight. He stepped inside through the service door out back because the front felt too exposed, the hallway carpet still holding the faint scent of his mother's lavender soap. The house was supposed to be asleep. The staff were on rotation. His wife always went to bed early when he traveled. He had rehearsed the stealthy entrance in his head and then stopped when the muffled sound reached him. A thump, a smaller thump, and then a low, hateful chuckle that belonged to someone devoid of conscience. He froze. At the end of the corridor, near the study, a light leaked under a door. He moved toward it, heart climbing the way it did before an important speech or a plane takeoff. He pushed the door open and the scene hit him like a physical thing. His wife had his mother by the shoulder. His mother, in her late 60s, stooped with age yet clinging to a dignity that had never been taught, had been pushed against the study desk. The woman he had married, tailored dress slightly rumpled, hair still in the soft waves he loved, was kicking his mother with the kind of force that said this wasn't a single moment of madness but a deliberate choice. His mouth went dry. The world narrowed to the scrape of shoe on wood, to his wife's knuckles whitening, to the small, stunned look on his mother's face that said she could not remember why this was happening. The staff, it turned out, were not in the house. The alarms were disabled with that casual cruelty of someone who assumes power is theirs to wield. In some rooms he had rehearsed 1,000 possible reactions. In the end, everything fell away. He stepped into the doorway and his voice, low and controlled, sliced through the air. "Stop." She froze as if hit by a sound wave. For a fraction of a second, she looked at him with the utterly candid hatred that had been hidden in polite smiles at dinners, the one he had rationalized away as stress, as ambition, as something she would grow out of. "Don't," she hissed. "This is none of your business." He took 2 steps forward. He did not touch her. He did not raise his voice. He simply stood between them, his presence a line she could not cross without seeing the consequences. "Your business is family," he said. "She is my mother." She laughed, cold and sharp. "Your mother ruined everything. She is manipulative. She spies. She undermines. She is old," he said. "She is vulnerable. And you have no right." She pushed him in return, a small, petulant shove meant to show she could. It landed on him and ricocheted off whatever part of him had been softened by travel, by meetings. It didn't hurt. It stung. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he did something that stunned even himself. He walked to the desk, reached into the drawer where he kept the small recorder he used for dictation on flights and in meetings, and clicked it on. The red light was a small, bright accusation in the dim room. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Recording," he said simply. She flinched like a child caught in a lie. For the first time that night, the cruelty in her face cracked, revealing the fear beneath. "You'll regret this," she spat. "You can't come back and play hero." He let that go. He watched her, his features a mask of calm. The billionaire in him, the one who had learned to be patient with markets and people, surfaced into the moment. He had not negotiated a hostile takeover by punching people in corridors. He had done it by outthinking them. He walked to his mother, gently lifted her chin with a finger, and saw that she was shaking. Not from age alone. From fear. From the humiliation of being kicked by the woman who was supposed to help her. "It's okay," he whispered to his mother. "It's okay. I'm here." He looked at his wife and saw the outline of the person he had fallen in love with, ambition wrapped in vulnerability, disintegrating into something else. He could have called security. He could have thrown her out on the spot. He could have filed for divorce in an hour and spent the next months fighting for custody and assets and headlines. All those options were available. The temptation to make a show was intoxicating. Instead, he chose a different kind of blow. "You're going to leave," he said. She laughed. "I don't have to. This house is mine as much as yours." He smiled, small and precise. "Not anymore." She narrowed her eyes. "What are you talking about?" "You think I'm reckless because I fly above headlines," he said. "You think I can't see. But I can. And tonight you made a choice." He walked to the small safe embedded in the desk and opened it. He took out a leather folder and placed it on the desk between them. Inside were documents that smelled faintly of embossed leather and the imprimatur of lawyers. A revision of his will, a new power of attorney, and an immediate transfer of certain assets into a trust. "I have already signed these," he said. My mother is now the beneficiary and trustee of a family trust that controls this house and the majority of our liquid assets. I also signed a directive that moves substantial funds into an account she controls. She will be able to live the rest of her life however she pleases, without your interference." Her face for the first time registered genuine shock. She had always assumed his wealth could be redirected with a text message, a signature, a threat. She had never considered that he could be more ruthless with kindness than she was with cruelty. "You can't," she whispered. "You can't do that. Those funds are part of our lives. They were never yours to," Bruce claim with a heel. His voice surprised both of them. It was quiet and very, very cold. "You wanted a life built on my name. Fine. But you will not build it on torment." He sat down opposite them and told his mother, softly, what he had done. It was a speech without adjectives, a catalogue of decisions that would ensure she was safe. He explained the trust, the directorship changes, the buffer between his wife and the house. He explained that he had also, for his own peace, recorded the incident and arranged for copies to be held by trusted counsel and by the head of security in case there was any attempt to erase evidence. "You got lawyered up in the middle of the night?" she asked incredulously. "I flew home," he said. "I recorded. I signed. The lawyers were on standby." She looked at him like she had not seen him in years and then like she had always known him in a way no one else could. The relief on her face made his chest ache and softened something inside him that had been hardened by years of boardroom battles. His wife recovered faster than either of them expected. She turned sharp, furious. "You think hiding money and papers will save her from what she is? She'll ruin everything. She'll leak, she'll go to the press, she'll embarrass you. I won't let that happen." "You won't," he said. "Because she won't want to." He stood and walked to the door, fingers trailing the cool wood. He looked back at his wife. "Leave now. Take whatever you brought in your bag. Take the car. Take anything not nailed down. But you will not harm her again. If you do, I will press charges. I will make sure they are public and they are permanent." She laughed, a brittle sound. "You think threats work? You think lawyers wait for you to decide morality?" He shook his head. "I think consequences do. And I have arranged them." She stepped toward him, rage giving her balance. "You can't make me leave." He didn't answer. He opened the study door and gestured for her to leave. Somehow, in the silence that followed, she realized this was not a bluff. She left with the fierce swagger of someone convinced of invincibility, but the gait lacked the certainty she usually carried. He watched her go, watched the car lights swallow her silhouette until she was gone. Only when the house settled did his mother break into tears. They were not loud. They were the kind of quiet that pulls the marrow out of you. He moved to her and gathered her in his arms, feeling the thinness of her body and the tremor of old age and fear. "You don't deserve this," he said into her hair. "You never did." "I know," she whispered. "I tried to be proud. I tried to be quiet. I didn't want to be a burden." "You are not a burden," he said. "You never were." They sat like that for a long time until the night light softened and the house felt like home again. He called the head of household staff and told them to return. He told them to prepare tea, to open a window to let the night air touch the curtains, to call their lawyer the next day. He made sure nothing in the house had been damaged beyond repair. By dawn, the story had a life of its own. Pictures of his wife's sudden departure had leaked to a blogger who liked scandal and speed. Gossip did what gossip always does and assumed the worst. The next day, headlines ran wild though none of the facts were yet public. The billionaire, who was supposed to be a creature of business, found himself the subject of whispers and questions and camera lenses. He had anticipated this. He had called a press conference at noon. He walked into the room with his mother at his side, both of them understated in a way that cut through the spectacle. Reporters leaned forward expecting a battle or a denial or a show of dominance. He stood at the podium and looked at his mother. "This is a private matter," he began, and then paused because he realized for the first time that the private and the public were entangled in ways they had never been in his childhood life. "But some things are worth making public. My mother was treated with cruelty. That cruelty happened in my home. I will not allow it to happen again." He spoke then, calmly and without rancor, about the trust he had created, about his commitment to family, and about the moral obligation he felt toward those who had raised him. He did not vilify his wife in intimate detail. He did not paint her as a monster. He simply stated facts and set the record straight. The cameras flashed. He answered a few questions and then left the podium, his mother walking with a staff member at her side but holding her head higher than she had in years. People loved a comeback. People loved a villain and a hero and the messy in-between. The coverage that followed was merciless to his wife, who had so confidently thought herself insured against consequences. She found doors closed to her and offers rescinded. Her friends conned their calls. Power, it turned out, is fragile when it is built on fear. In the weeks that followed, he never raised his voice again to his mother. He replaced the study door with one that opened onto the garden, a place she loved. He hired a counselor for the household, insisted on background checks for new staff, and set up a regular schedule so she would never feel alone. He paid attention in small ways: the tea she liked at afternoon, the blanket she hid under when the city felt too loud, the old records she hummed to herself when she thought no one was listening.